In parts 1 and 2, I talked about the Stormlands, the coming of the First Men, and the many petty kingdoms that were in place. I also talked about the original lords of Stormlands, House 𝑑𝐻𝑢𝑟𝑑𝑢𝑛. By the coming of the Andals, the 𝑑𝐻𝑢𝑟𝑑𝑢𝑛s had controlled the Stormlands for thousands of years. When the Andals finally arrived, it was King 𝒃𝒽𝒃 VII 𝑑𝐻𝑢𝑟𝑑𝑢𝑛 that was in charge, and King 𝒃𝒽𝒃 VII was one of the worst kings to be in power when the Andals arrived in the Stormlands. King 𝒃𝒽𝒃 was more concerned with wars with other territories than whatever was happening with the fanatical faith of the Seven Followers. Because of his ignoring the very real threat of the Andals as they just went to town on the northern regions, instead, the king focused on issues such as retaking Massey's hook from Justin Milkeye, who was a pirate king that sounds super cool, and I'm guessing he was blinded in one eye given the mean nickname. Same time, King 𝒃𝒽𝒃 was also trying to keep the Dornish king Oliver Ironwood from coming into his territory and taking his stuff. But the stupidity of the father gets passed on to the son. While King 𝒃𝒽𝒃 never saw the consequences for his ignoring the threat of the Andals, his grandson, King Carlton II 𝑑𝐻𝑢𝑟𝑑𝑢𝑛, nicknamed the Conqueror, oh boy did he. By the way, he gave himself that nickname, but sometimes you just gotta hype yourself up. If I were to pick a name, the Conqueror sounds pretty cool. Honestly, that hyped worked. King Carlton the Conqueror was able to retake Massey's hook after 4 generations of war. It had taken him only a year of sieging Stonedance to slay the last king of House Massey, a man named Joshua the Soft Spear. So overall, the grandson comes in less than 2 years, fixes everything up. Unfortunately, the Andals come knocking at this point. There was one particular Andal that the Storm King should have been worried about, Targaryen the Terrible, or Targaryen bar Aemon. Aemon was an Andal warlord that had migrated south to the north of the Blackwater Rush and made a kingdom. It was a small kingdom, but it was still something. Being so close to the Darkland King of Duskendale, the Darkland King started giving Aemon problems. So, to rectify this, and to let him know he wasn't going to deal with it, so Aemon decided he was going to marry the daughter of the dead Joshua Softspear. He crossed the sharp point at the hook's end and beat the Stormlanders out of Stonedance, then decided to make his wife's brother a puppet ruler. King Carlton was looking so good, and then just like that, he was losing the Conqueror title. An Andal had come in and wiped out everything he had done, simply because the Andal king was being harassed by a different king. However, that was only the beginning, because the Andals after that started coming in droves, well, by longships, all along the shore of the Stormlands, and they were ready to conquer. King Carlton, his son, and his grandson would spend their entire reigns at war with the storms of Andals coming into their territory. The 3 kings would fight bravely against the onslaught of the Andals, winning quite a few battles, but every victory just saw more and more Andals coming to the shores. The maesters say that for every Andal killed, 5 more came to shore, eager to fight and create their own kingdoms. Munfred V Durradon, King Carlton the Conqueror's son, did manage to get a major victory when he defeated the Holy Brotherhood of the Andals, which was 7 petty kings and warlords that had banded together, at the Battle of Bronzegate. But sadly, King Munfred Durradon then died. This victory did not slow the Andals down, though. The beautiful island of Tarth fell to the Andals next, then Estermont. Cape Wrath soon saw itself crawling with Andals. However, there is a light at the end of this bloody tunnel. The Andals couldn't help but fight with each other as they struggled to get their own kingdoms. This weakness was what kept the Rainwood safe and gave King Baldric I Durradon, named the Cunning, to take advantage of them by turning them against each other. And I know a lot of these Storm Kings gave themselves nicknames, but the Cunning actually was a really good one for King Baldric I Durradon, because by turning them against each other, he gave the Stormlands a breather. They could finally stop dealing with this constant onslaught and just watch the Andals and their petty little kingdoms they had been setting up in the Stormlands go at each other's throats. King Durin the 21st Duradun was exceptionally clever and decided that, yeah, okay, maybe they actually needed help against the Andals, and this was not going to go well after they stopped focusing on each other. To this end, he decided the best ally would be the Children of the Forest. He went to the hollow hills and caves in the Stormlands and offered the Children of the Forest a partnership. While there weren't a lot of Children of the Forest around, they did agree to band together with them. Called the Weirwood Alliance, battles were waged in the Misty Wood, Black Bog, and on the hills of the Stormlands, where they defeated the Andals. A generation later, King 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐷𝐴𝐴 I joined up with 3 Dornish kings and destroyed 𝑑𝑟𝑎ℎ the Corpse Maker on the River Slain near Stormhelm. Despite all these victories, things were not looking up for the Storm Kings. Victories only delayed the inevitable. The Andals wanted the Stormlands, and they were going to take them. Religion came to the Stormlanders' advantage, though. The Andals were very into their religion, the Faith of the Seven, and Seven was very important to them. So when they had tried to take Storm's End 7 times, and failed 7 times, they decided their gods were giving them a message, and they stopped attacking the Duradun's home. Finally, both the Duraduns and the Andals decided to put fighting aside. For a little bit. King Maldon IV and then Durin the 24th, the half-blood, married an Andal. This led to Andal warlords marrying their daughters to Stormlords and swearing loyalty to the Storm Kings. Bringing the Andals in closer, it was King Ormond II and his wife who decided to embrace the Faith of the Seven instead of the old gods. For centuries, this intermarrying and bonding continued, and those of the Stormlands became more mixed with the Andals, creating more stability and for the Storm Kings to acquire more power. But soon these Storm Kings overreached. Called the Age of the 100 Kingdoms, King Arlen I, the Avenger, extended his domain to the Blackwater Rush and headwaters of the Mander. His great-grandson, King Arlen III, crossed the Trident and Blackwater to take all of the Riverlands and planted House Duradun's flag on the shore of the Sunset Sea. But when Arlen III died, things went downhill. Many saw the vast kingdom of House Duradun, and they knew they did not have enough resources to securely hold it. This led to rebellions, petty kings, the Ironborn, the Reach, and Dornish all attacking, clawing back at their lost territory slowly. But House Duradun had one more epic king to bring their house to glory. King Argilac the Arrogant. And if you know your conquest history, I'm sorry that this part is spoiled for you. King Argilac had a strong hold on the Stormlands territory, and he was someone you did not want to mess with. But everyone ages, and as Argilac grew older, King Harrenhal, who was building the beautiful Harrenhal, was threatening the Stormlands again. Argilac thought he had made a strategic move in trying to make a deal with Aegon Targaryen, who sat with his 2 sister wives at their home on Dragonstone. Argilac thought he was being clever in offering Aegon his daughter's hand and giving him territory that was a buffer between Harren and the Stormlands and actually not his territory to give. Aegon, already having 2 wives and also knowing that territory wasn't to give, turned down Argilac and instead offered his half-bastard brother Orys Baratheon's hand in marriage to Argilac's daughter. Argilac was a very proud man, and he went all drama queen when this happened, chopping off the messengers' hands and sending them back to Aegon, saying these are the only hands that his bastard brother will have. This just pissed off Aegon, and he began his conquest of the 7 Kingdoms. During this conquest, he sent Orys Baratheon to attack King Argilac Duradun's castle at Storm's End. Orys ended up killing the Storm King. However, despite it going against the dead king's wishes, Orys Baratheon ended up marrying the dead Storm King's daughter. Marrying her, Orys Baratheon ended up taking over Storm's End, and Aegon the Conqueror would name him Warden of the Stormlands. While Orys kept the castle Storm's End and kept his last name Baratheon, because Orys respected the dead king and his new wife so much, he took their sigil for his own as a way to honor the Duraduns. So while House Duradun's blood does live on, its name is unfortunately extinct by the time of the show and the books. So in the next part, I'm going to talk about the founder of House Baratheon, Orys.